It's time to start. Hello to everyone. This is ICOMOS International Committee of Underwater Cultural Heritage webinar program. And this is the first one. These webinars dedicated to the 12th anniversary of the 2001 UNESCO Protection of Underwater Cultural Heritage Convention. To having the opening speech, I would like to invite Mr. Francois Langlois, who is the head of Underwater Cultural Heritage Unit of UNESCO. Welcome, Francois.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me well?
Yes, perfectly, we hear you.
Okay, thank you very much. So, dear Dr. Underwood, dear Dr. Onis, dear colleagues, it is an honor and a pleasure to be with you today, albeit unfortunately virtually, and to represent the Secretariat of the 2001 Convention on the Protection of Cultural Heritage on the occasion of the first webinar organized in the context of the 20th anniversary of the Convention. Having joined the Secretariat of the Convention in September last, I am very grateful for this opportunity given to me by ICOMOS ICUCH, UNESCO's long-lasting partner in the protection of underwater cultural heritage, to say a few words about the Convention in the presence of so many friends of underwater heritage. It is only natural for ICUCH to be among the first institutions to celebrate the anniversary of the Convention, given its pioneering role in underwater heritage protection. Indeed, almost 25 years ago, ICOMOS adopted the International Charter on the Protection and Management of Underwater Cultural Heritage in Sofia. That founding text was then included in the annex to the 2001 Convention known as the Rules. These rules are today the international norm very widely followed by the underwater community, regardless of whether the Convention has been ratified or not, as a recent evaluation conducted on the Convention recalled. This is a major achievement. So as we gather today to celebrate the anniversary of the Convention, we at UNESCO would also like to pay tribute to the tireless work of ICOMOS ICUCH to better protect and better promote practices and ethics in underwater archaeology. The Convention, although still in its very early stage, has gained in maturity over the years. 66 member states are now parties to it. We actually learned today that Mali may be able to ratify the Convention. So important regional disparities subsist, with Latin America being the engine of the Convention, or its propeller, to use a maritime metaphor. But we are happy to see the growing interest in it. At the operational level, much progress has been done, notably through the scientific and technical advisory body of the Convention, which lends its support to member states in its implementation. Let me seize this opportunity to thank our dedicated colleagues from the STAB who are conducting assistance missions around the world and are investing their time and energy in providing much needed expertise. The Convention was conceived with the idea of fostering international cooperation for the protection of underwater cultural heritage. 20 years after its adoption, and for the very first time, the Convention's state cooperation mechanism, provided for in its Articles 9 and 10, has been triggered for the first time for the safeguarding of the Skerki Bank site located off the Tunisian coast. 8 countries from the 2 shores of the Mediterranean Sea are joining forces to protect this shared heritage. We hope to be able to send a first mission in the summer 2021 to undertake preliminary scientific surveys at the site. This is a significant development for the Convention, which shows its potential not only for the protection of heritage below water, but also for encouraging dialogue among countries in the spirit of UNESCO's constitution. We are also actively engaged in promoting the importance of underwater cultural heritage for the future of oceans. Underwater heritage and their natural environment are part of one ecosystem. They are mutually dependent. The UN Decade of Ocean Science for Sustainable Development that will start in 2021 provide a unique opportunity to encourage cooperation between marine scientists and underwater archaeologists. This is with this in mind that the scientific and technical advisory body of the convention has initiated a very constructive dialogue with UNESCO's Intergovernmental Oceanographic Commission, which is leading these decades. Many areas of joint collaboration have already been identified, and the STAB is currently elaborating its strategic framework to support the implementation of the decades and promote the integration of underwater archaeology within marine sciences. Dear colleagues, these are indeed encouraging developments, but much remains to be done, of course. Capacities in underwater heritage conservation and management, in underwater archaeology research, in the fight against the commercial exploitation, which continues to plague underwater heritage. All that needs to be further reinforced. UNESCO will continue to do its utmost in these areas with the support of its partners, including, of course, ICOMOS ICUCH. We know that many of you are engaged in activities aiming to do just that. But the precondition for the success of all these efforts is to convince countries of the benefits of the convention and encourage them to ratify it more widely. For this to happen, we need to be able to demonstrate better the impact of the convention, including in terms of human development. The convention supports several sustainable development goals of the 2030 agenda, including, of course, SDG 14 on oceans, as we just discussed, and SDG 13 on climate change. But we need to articulate this in an integrated vision. To that effect, we will soon initiate the development of a theory of change that will explore how the convention can lead to tangible results and direct benefits. This theory of change will then be used to develop an overall results framework that we can use to monitor the convention and to track progress. Eventually, this results framework could constitute the backbone of a reporting mechanism that states parties to the convention can use to monitor and account for their own progress at country level. There is a lot of work to be done to achieve that, and we very much hope to involve ICUCH in this endeavor and be able to benefit from its expertise and its experience. Dear colleagues, these are some of the messages that the Secretariat of the Convention wanted to convey as we gathered today. In concluding, allow me to thank you again for having organized that series of webinars with so many experts coming together to talk about underwater heritage. And thank you again for having given me the chance to say a few words on the occasion of this inaugural session. I look forward to hearing the presentation of your first speaker, Razika Mutuku Marana, and I thank you for your kind attention. Thank you very much again.
Thank you very much for this very valuable opening speech, Francois. To having you in this webinar, it is our great honor. After you, I would like to invite Dr. Chris Underwood, who is the president of ICUCH, to have a short speech. Chris?
Yes, I'm here. Dear Francois, dear Hakan, dear many colleagues, and I see many people joining our meeting. It's extremely encouraging to hear the words from Francois. It's equally pleasing to have ICUCH's incredible contribution, I think, over the past, not just the birth of the convention in 2001, but the years leading up to the convention, where I know colleagues, some perhaps even sitting, listening to this first webinar, actively participated in the long and hard struggle to get the convention to a point where it could be accepted. That was a long and hard battle. And of course, since 2001, as Francois absolutely correctly said, we have now 66 ratifications. And I think others, we know others, are implementing essentially the rules to the annex as a management framework. These are all very encouraging steps forward. I think also I'd like to pay tribute to the STAB and its missions particularly, which I know are having a fundamental impact on those countries where they've been. And let's hope that more of those missions can be undertaken in the years to come. On ICUCH's part, we're very pleased and honoured and privileged, and of course, it goes almost without saying that we hope over the next 20 years there'll be many more ratifications, and that ICUCH can play its full role in supporting the Convention and the 2001 Convention Secretariat. Our door is always open, and as will be noted throughout the webinar chain, our reach is quite extensive and it continues to grow. We have many members representing all of the UNESCO regions, and we have local people who can provide local support, local knowledge, and if needed, actual participation in those missions. We see this as a partnership. We see it as something that can be strengthened and continue, and I hope in 20 years' time, it probably won't be me, but a future president of ICUCH can celebrate the continuing growth of the 2001 Convention with its partners, including ICOMOS ICUCH. Hakan has welcomed everybody, but I would just like to say a big thank you for participating, to listening, and I think when you look at the range of speakers from different continents, it should be a fascinating year's presentations. Thank you for everybody, and I'm going to pass back to Hakan.
Thank you very much, Chris. Now this is time to listen Rasika, but before, I would like to have a group photograph, and it will be great if you turn on your camera to have a group photograph, please. Dear colleagues, can you turn on your cameras? Okay. Okay. The first group is okay. Our assistants are also taking the second and third group photographs, I guess. Eser, are they okay? Okay, perfect. Now I would like to invite our distinguished members from ICUCH to have his presentation. Rasika, welcome. We can't hear you. Can you turn on? Okay, perfect.
Thank you, Dr. Hakan, and thank you, ICUCH, for inviting me for this lecture. And I think for most of you, it's good afternoon and good evening. And I would like to start my presentation on recent excavation and research work.
By the way, I would like to remind that if you have some questions, you can send the message via chat part. Thank you.
The recent excavation and research work done on Godawaya shipwreck site, which is known to be the oldest shipwreck site in the whole Asia Pacific region and the Indian Ocean. So this presentation, the lecture will be give you a overall information and also some recent development. So first of all, this how the shipwreck look like. It's kind of a mound, a wooden mound on a bit sandy and bit kind of a coral reef. So I will just want to show you the overall view of the shipwreck. So this is the wooden parts of the wreck. If you go to the Sri Lanka, where the Godawaya is, on the southern part of Sri Lanka, where the Walaway River flows into the sea. The Walaway River is the second largest river in the Sri Lanka. So this is the river. It's in late stage, the end. This is where it flows to the sea. The Godawaya temple is in here. Can you see the slides moving or not?
Yeah, we see perfectly. No problem, Rasika.
Okay. If you give the main information about the wreck, it's a wooden wreck, depth on a 32-meter depth. It's scattered over a 25 by 25 meter area. It's kind of a 6 kilometers southeast to Godawaya Temple and south to Hambantota International Harbor. It's kind of just in front of the international harbor. So this is the Godawaya is a small fishing village near this temple, but the temple is a very ancient one. Its history goes back beyond the 1st century AD, and it's a kind of a flat area, and there's a small rocky outcrop, and the top of that you can see the temple, and this is a newly built a stupa, but older one was also here. So the Godawaya means also the old name of that is Gota Pabbata. Gota means round and short. Pabbata means the rock. So the temple on this rock can be visible for a long distance from the sea. We can see that the white dot of this stupa. This name could be came from the seafarers or the fishermen from the ancient time. Okay. When the river comes near to the sea and it takes a bend and flows parallel to the sea and come out from the Godawaya temple, near the Godawaya temple. So at the moment, most of the time the river bank, the beach is blocked with the sand, and time to time the villagers cut a small canal to release the water, unless from this end it will flows to the sea. So because of the history of this temple, a lot of terrestrial archaeological projects and excavations were done inside the temple and around the temple, especially by the Department of Archaeology with a collaboration project with the German. We call it as the German Kawa project. It's with the Bonn University of Germany. So a lot of excavations were done, and this is the old temple and the excavation area. The main thing about this old port, because Godawaya is known as an old seaport, the two inscriptions. The first one was found in 1930s, and it clearly says about the seaport in Godawaya. This is what it says, the lines: success, the custom duties of the port Godapawatha, King Gamini. So the port of a developed port that can take duties. So in 1998, under the Kawa project excavation, another inscription was found. It also tells about another kind of offerings given to the temple. So because of these things, the Godawaya is very famous as a seaport, and in our literature also mentioned about it. In 2003, a stone anchor was found near the Godawaya. At that time, the German archaeologists working there and the Department of Archaeology invite a maritime archaeology unit to participate to a exploration around that area. But at that time, the Advanced project, which was one of the first projects carried down in Sri Lanka, was going on, and we didn't have much of a resources and experience to do that kind of survey in 2003. At the same year, two local divers, Sunil and Peminder, that's their name. They are local divers. They are going for collect conch. The call is the conch divers. They found this a bench-like stone object from a 32-meter depth in a deep sea. So they brought it up and gave it to the excavation officer at that time at the Godawaya site, Mr. Sanat Karunaratne, and he gave it to the German project, but nothing was done about the thing or of the finding, or didn't try to find anything else. It was stored in the department storehouse with the other artifacts. But the thing, the place and all the things were forgotten with the time. In 2008, the UNESCO Asia Pacific Regional Office was conducting a field school in Sri Lanka, and from 2009, it was proposed to have a regional field school in Sri Lanka, and they had they wanted to find a good wreck site that can use as a training site. We were aiming for find a wooden wreck, suitable wooden wreck, not a iron wreck or a colonial period wrecks. So that can give some a regional details of a old shipbuilding. So because of that, with the aim of that, we did a survey in a southern area under the UNESCO funds and Central Cultural Fund and the Department of Archaeology. So during that exploration, we came to know about this stone object. So we went to check that, and we found these ancient symbols on that object. At that time, we called it a stone bench, and we went to meet the two divers, and they told us it was an unusual place. We found this stone object, but there are a lot of pot shards, pottery scattered all over the place. This gave us a clear indication of a possible shipwreck. So in 2008, October, we dived, the MAU team, the divers and the archaeologists dived to the, following the direction of these two conch divers. This is kind of a first glance, what we saw, a huge jar on a seabed. So after going around this area, we found a lot of pot shards and this mound. All the pot shards and pottery and all things were around this area, around this mound. And a blue color, a glaze ingot. In 2008, we brought some artifacts and did a small sketch map of this area. And we did some comparative study of the pottery. And with that, these typologies, comparing it with well-known Sri Lankan archaeological sites and Indian sites, the pottery found from those sites. And we came to an idea that this ships is in an era of from 2nd century BCE to 2nd century CE. So we came to that decision with the pot shards. At that time, we did our first publication at the IMA newsletter in 2009 about this shipwreck. And this was the first publication of about Godawaya, and which gave this information to the other parts of the world. Then again, in 2010, we did a joint venture under the funds from the Netherlands Cultural Fund and also the UNESCO Regional Office and the Central Cultural Fund and the Department of Archaeology. At that time, from 2008 to 2010, the economical situation in Sri Lanka was very bad because the ongoing war and the lack of income to the Central Cultural Fund. We have to postpone many archaeological projects, also the maritime archaeological projects. So we were trying to find funds at that time. So this was a kind of a small exchange project. 6 archaeologists from 4 countries, India, Philippines, and Sri Lanka, and the Indonesians came to Sri Lanka and did a survey on Godawaya shipwreck site. After 2011, the Department of Archaeology and the INA, Texas INA, start doing research on this site, and they did actually from 2011 to 2014, they did some survey and excavation on the site. So what Department of Archaeology and the INA did is the first scientific excavation on the site, and they managed to find a lot of artifacts and get a good idea about some parts of the wreck. At the moment, we don't have the excavation details with us. So we had some arguments and problems with this project, and the most of the work done after 2014 was postponed till we came into a decision and solve our problems. Again, in 2017, Department of Archaeology and Central Cultural Fund with the Maritime Archaeology Unit, we start surveys and research on the Godawaya shipwreck again. So after many years, the research work is going well, and first what we did is to survey the wreck site and make a site plan. So diving at the site is kind of a challenging because of depth. We only dive, normally with the air, we can only dive 18 minutes dive per day per single person, unless we have to do a decompression dive or nitrox, enriched air dive. So the whole site was drawn into a site plan. We did it manually using making a lines and measuring it with the tapes. This is a small video clip. Dr. Hakan, can you see the video is moving and sound?
Yes, yes, but we don't hear the sound in this moment, but we see the
Okay.
video.
Yeah, not much sound. After 2010, when we surveying the site, we found there's a main two mounds on the site. At the beginning, we only found one piece, and this is what you are seeing is the first mound. You can see all the pot shards and artifacts around the site. These are the big jars. There are several like this. And this is another jar here. So this is the shipwreck from the top view, and this is the we also had a help with the site recorder program software of the 3H Consulting Limited. And also we did a 3D photogrammetry survey, making a 3D model of the wreck with the Agisoft photo scanner software. So both of those were put together, and this is the whole site. And this is the first mound, and this is the second main mound, and in between there's another small part of the same structure. So from here to here is the main hull of the vessel. So we did some test excavation on 2018, and a trench here. These are some of the photos we did. So this is the trench. See, we wanted to find whether there's a connection between these two parts, because in here, the section number 2 and 3 is connected. And here we have a space. So we did a excavation and found out from beneath the surface sand, there are still timber parts going through, connecting those two parts. These are some of the excavation sketch and 3D recording of the excavation. And this is our team in 2018. Again in 2019, another excavation trench, much bigger and that we want to go deeper in here was started, and we found a lot of pottery pot shards on this trend excavation grade, and a lot of iron and copper beads, and also some a stone quarren, a grinding stone. This is also another picture of the site. So the main artifacts we found from this shipwreck site is the pottery. So there are a lot of pot shard that we think it's a part of a cargo, but also we need to categorize them and put into typologies and try to find out, is this only a cargo, or all these pottery were storage jars and day-to-day that the sailors use day-to-day life. So we need to, after the excavation, after all the pottery and artifacts were taken off, we can only get into that idea. At the moment, it's like 50-50. It could be a cargo, or else it's only a storage jars for the sailors, and maybe some storing some cargo or liquid or something like that. The grinding stones. This is clearly a part of cargo, because at the moment we find nearly 10 sets of these grinding stones, the base part and the grinding part. So the other thing is, all of the grinding stones we find from other archaeological sites in Sri Lanka, they were worn off, they were used ones. All these stones found from the shipwreck site is new grinding stones, unused current stones. So you can see still these two photos are at recent times still in India, Sri Lanka, and many other countries in Asian countries use these grinding stones. These are from Asian sites in Sri Lanka, and this is from India. I think this is from Pattanam, also known as the Musiris. This grinding stone is from there. And this time, with the last excavation, we found a lot of beads. Mostly these are carnelian beads, round beads and flat beads were found. And the glaze ingots, it could be a part of the cargo, but we only found like 4 or 5 glaze ingots. So maybe there are more in the shipwreck site. Yet we didn't. We only find these 4 or 5 ingots. And the copper. There are a lot of copper beads. It's the size of a 4 by 4 in size. There are a lot of beads all around the shipwreck site. Mainly these parts are on the wooden parts. We found only one kind of a big fragment in 2011. We thought it was a slag. Then we test it, and we found it's there are copper, more than 98% copper in that part. So that means it's a purified, and it could be a part of our ingot. So this copper is one thing this shipwrecks has. But the recent investigation shows this copper is not from a Sri Lankan copper source, but the investigations are still going on. We will wait till all the things done to get a good idea about this copper. And there are a lot of metal objects. And this is a spearhead found in, I think, 2013. And this is a small a jar type vessel, metal, and this could be a kind of a handle. This is also a handle of some other object. And these are the things we found last year. The whole site was photographs, but with the computers what we have at the MAU, we could not go to to cover this whole site. We need kind of a 300, 400 photographs, but that can't bear our computers what we have. So this model was done only using a 120 photographs. That's kind of a maximum we can handle with the computers we have. So, but it gives a overall idea and a good look of the whole shipwreck site. The last thing I want to talk about is the wooden parts. So all these wooden parts were kind of a cover with the iron concretion. That goes to the conclusion this ship was carrying a cargo of iron. Could be iron ingots. So, but we still can't find any solid piece of iron. Most of deteriorated and kind of concreted all over the shipwreck site and on the wooden parts. Because of that cover, the wooden parts under that, it's in a very good condition. So this is a one place that that cover was broken. The most of the wooden parts in here is deteriorating fast. So in the other places, we checked in several places, the wooden hull remains under that iron corrosion or the concretion is still in very good condition. Yet we are still thinking and researching about this iron cover or the concretion. So that will still leave us with a doubt whether this is a cargo of iron or something else. And about the hull, so under these two mounts, there are a lot of information, facts about the 1st century. I think I forgot to tell in the early, the carbon dating done on these wooden parts done in beta analytics and physical laboratories of Hyderabad in India. 2 samples were done, and both give kind of a range of 1st century BC to 1st century AD. So most of the other things, the pottery and the typologies of the potteries goes to like 1st century BCE. So these 2 modern mounts, wooden mounts, the wooden pieces are hiding the information, facts about 1st century BC shipbuilding technologies. So when we are doing further research or future excavation, we have to be very careful about touching this wooden part or removing this iron concretion. Because if we are not ready to do a long-term, full-scale excavation, that will destroy all of this information under this concretion or under the these two mounts. So that gives us what kind of a shipwreck could be this the Godawaya. This is the one of the last known shipwrecks. The ship building diagrams of Sri Lanka with the outrigger type and known as the Thoni and the Yatra. So we are just thinking if this ship is belong to Sri Lanka or South Indian type, but still we do not know whether this vessel is coming to Sri Lanka or going out from Sri Lanka. But surely this contains a lot of South Asian region, contains most of the artifacts, the cargo of South Asian regional origin, with the origin of South Asian region. So it could be heading back to east or heading back to the North India, the Bay of Bengal, or it's coming back from that area. Still, we have to do a lot of research on cargo and the artifacts to understand the shipbuilding technologies as well as the origin of this shipwreck. This is our team in 2009. So a big thanks to all of them participating on this excavation and working together. Okay, these are some of the early types of ships, vessels built in Sri Lanka and South Indian region. And this is the belly tomb, the replica of the belly tomb wreck of the 9th century. So this is the second oldest in Asia Pacific region, and kind of a same, but without the outriggers. So I would like to thank few institutions and few people regarding the Godawaya excavation. First of all, we would like to thank the former Director Generals of Central Cultural Fund, Professor Sudarshan Seneviratne and Professor Nimal De Silva, and also the Director General, the current Director General of the Central Cultural Fund, Gamini Adhikari, and all the Director Generals of the Department of Archaeology. And special thanks goes to Mr. Somasiri Devendra, and also the Ms. Nerina Silva. And from the beginning, I would like to thank, regarding this Godawaya project and the excavation, the UNESCO Asia Pacific Regional Office, who's supporting us from the beginning, Ulrich, and the fine memories of Ricardo Favis, and the Netherlands Cultural Agency, Martijn Mendes, and also Mr. Peter Holt from 3H Consulting, giving us a provision to use the software, and all the friends from all of the countries who gave us support in this project, especially the Western Australian Museum and the Flinders University, and giving this opportunity to speak, the ICUCH and Dr. Hakan and Chris Underwood and all the other members. Thank you very much.
Ratika, this is a very nice, very beautiful presentation, and we learn a lot of things about Sri Lanka and Godawaya shipwreck, and not only thanks to you, but thanks to all the people who effort for the excavation of the wreck. Thank you very much again. There are a lot of nice words are coming from the chat sides, and if if you have any question, you can send your questions from the chat. And now I'm all reading very nice, very beautiful words about the presentation from different people who listened to the presentation. Okay, I don't see any question. Okay, maybe some of our ICUCH members wish to say something. For example, Peggy, would you like to say something about the presentation? Good to hear you again, by the way.
Hello, thank you so much. Rasika, wonderful project. I was very, very impressed, and you have excellent, such clear photographs, and your messages are all very clear. So we appreciate your sharing that across the world. It makes me remember being in Sri Lanka a number of years ago.
Thank you, Peggy. Akufumi, would you like to say something to Rasika? Akufumi? Okay.
Okay, nice presentation. Thank you very much. That's it.
Thank you. And few questions actually. Okay. Georgia Karadimos from the Embassy of Germany in Istanbul is asking if we can speculate based on the state of the site because of the wreckage. It's a question.
The size?
He's asking that based on the state of the site, is the cause of the wreckage? He is asking. Georgios, would you like to say? Would you like to ask directly? Your microphone is turned off. Still turn off.
Yeah, now you hear me.
Yes.
Yeah, we hear you.
Yeah, so very good presentation. So based on the site, we can speculate why the ship sank. Maybe of a storm, maybe it lost the orientation.
No. At the moment, we can't come to any idea what's the reason. But in the first, we thought there are a lot of charcoal, like black stuff on the shipwreck, that we thought it was getting caught into a fire and sank. But later we found out that was not a charcoal, that was iron, the corroded iron, black color iron.
Thank you. Chris, would you like to say something, I guess?
Yes, please, Hakan. And Rasika, congratulations. Excellent presentation.
Thank you.
But I'd like to just pick up on one thing, is that what Rasika really didn't mention, apart from the meetings, and I think Peggy touched on it a little briefly, is that out of Sri Lanka and those early meetings came the UNESCO Foundation calls as well, which through all sorts of reasons started in Sri Lanka, but it was delivered first in Thailand. And every time I hear the word Sri Lanka, I remember the deep roots that Sri Lanka has with underwater cultural heritage, and pay particular attention and credit to Somasiri Devendra, who's, I hope, listening and perhaps will see this presentation. Absolutely brilliant. And I really enjoyed the presentation. Thanks so much, Rasika.
Thank you. But also I would like to add something. The shipwreck was found on an excavation led by the UNESCO office in 2008. What we discussed and what we promised was this wreck will be a great a place to do a collaboration projects, get to put a hand and learn about this wreck to the all regional. I mean, from the aspect of what we are talking about, the regional field school, it will be a good opportunity to all the regional archaeologists, maritime archaeologists, to come and get an experience on this shipwreck site. So we are open. We remember we were telling about and talking about this thing from a few meetings, that this heritage is like it's in Sri Lanka, but it's all about the sea trading and international trading relations with the most of the regional countries. So it will be a good opportunity to all the regional archaeologists to get together and study and research on this shipwreck. Thank you.
One of the very well-known underwater archaeologists is between us, Dr. David Blackman, and he is asking a question. Yes, Mr. Blackman.
Hello, thank you. That was a very interesting presentation. As I listened to it, I thought of our old friend Gerhard Kapitein and how he would be excited. And I remember when we brought back from him, we persuaded him to give up, and we then published his great work on traditional boats of Sri Lanka. And with the great help of Somasiri, who's not here today. I mean, is Somasiri okay? Greetings to him anyway.
Yes, he's well. He's well.
I wonder if in the study of this wreck, people have looked at Gerhard's book. There must be copies in Sri Lanka. We sent lots of copies. They didn't get across to Kerala, I found when I went to Pattanam, but I hope they have been well distributed in Sri Lanka. I hope maybe that more copies can be sent. A more general point, I don't want to be critical, but when I went to, when they found Roman remains at Pattanam, wonderful, and we had a seminar there, I asked about the question of links, Tamil links, for example, or the links with Indus Valley and the development of harbour engineering, and the lack of cross-frontier exchange of contact is something that's clearly UNESCO. So there's a role for UNESCO and in our particular subject, ICUCH, but more generally in UNESCO, to make sure that there is cross-border contact and personal contact and exchange of information. But just to end with the thought of Gerhard Kapitein, just to think how excited he would have been to come and visit this fascinating wreck and give some ideas about the character of the wreck. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Blackman. It's an honor to see you between us, by the way. Probably there is no question. Mr. Michel Lahour, are you there?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, actually, this is the end of the presentation, and maybe as the last word, would you like to say something to us, Michel Lahour?
But you know, I'm very late because I was attending another meeting for the French government, and so I arrived just at the end of the presentation. So it's a pity, but I would like to be with you. So it's why I connect very late, but I connect. I wanted to be with you today. So I hope to be on time next time.
Thank you very much. Actually, to see you between us is a great pleasure and honor as one of the experienced ICUCH member, actually.
Thank you very much.
It's good to see everyone. Can I add a personal remark? Exciting. I have been called for my first vaccination tomorrow. The age produces some privileges. Avec l'âge, on a des privilèges. Okay, very good to see all so many old friends. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks to this technology, and it is actually one of the advantage of the Corona problem. To see all of you is great pleasure and great honor. And thanks again to Rasika, and again to UNESCO, to Monsieur François Langlois. And maybe the last word has to said by Christopher Underwood.
Thanks, Hakan, and thanks to everybody for contributing to the webinar. I think it's been a great start. Special thanks to UNESCO and François Langlois for participating and setting the scene with such a rich text covering many themes, which are very familiar to ICUCH, and all of them we support wholeheartedly and look forward to a very strong partnership in the future. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you very much. And this is end of the first webinar of ICUCH. And have a great day, have a great morning, have a great afternoon, or have a good night. Goodbye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you again.
Bye.
Bye-bye.